What is going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we get a brand new video on Bitcoin because it's having a pretty good rally right now. A nice move up, a little bit because of the shorts are the ones getting wrecked instead of the longs. And interestingly enough, investors are flocking to Bitcoin as more of a safe haven asset. Kind of how a lot of people in Bitcoin were seeing it originally, not really a risk asset, but a risk off one. But before we jump into all that, if you're not subscribed, make sure to smash that sub button because we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And we can see right here that there was a lot more Bitcoin shorting that got liquidated than longs recently on this move up in price. So the red is obviously shorts, the green is longs being liquidated. We see yesterday was the big move for shorts, $256 million liquidated in shorts. This is a pretty good change of pace because now we're seeing the shorts get liquidated heavy on moves up in price instead of longs getting liquidated heavy on moves down. This is kind of what we've been needing. We needed to flush the longs out, and now Bitcoin is more shorted than it is longed, but it's not that big of a problem, and it's not shorted to the point where moves up in price will cause giant moves up like we saw with moves down in price causing giant moves down. There's just not that much shorting in Bitcoin compared to longing when that leverage was around. But even we can see here 40,000, almost 41,000 longs on 1,500 shorts, which is down 23%, quite a bit. Go to the 7-day just to look at the shorts and look at their move down and how bad or how much it's been moving and down and collapsing. And you can see right here, absolutely a giant move down. Was around a little over 4,000 shorts, and we see right now down to 1,500. So a giant move down in shorts. On the other end, you see moves up in longs. So people could be flipping, getting more bullish on Bitcoin, and the longs, they're at levels where it's not something crazy for the longs, even though 40,000 is still high compared to how it was before. But I don't think that leverage in longs is really a problem or a risk at like moves down in price causing collapse in longs. And just the price of Bitcoin interacting insanely perfect with some of these lines here. We see it ran up and hit its head on this $45,000 top line here in this red channel. I'm not really sure why I have it as a red channel here, just because, I mean, we had a little interaction here for a bit, but it wasn't nothing insane. But anyways, it is red, so we see it basically perfectly bounce off here, trying to get over. So 45,000 will be the next big target. We're at 43.8, hovering around that $44,000 level. So we'll see if this holds and continues to keep up. It seems like it's going to continue and keep holding strong here. And investors are going towards Bitcoin. There's a move towards it. There's more of a safe haven kind of thought process around it. And even these big investors and banks are coming out and saying that. So it's a complete change in narrative for Bitcoin. And a good one, because most Bitcoiners or even people in crypto look at Bitcoin and see it as not a risk asset. It is risk off to the vast majority of people who are in crypto, and especially people who are in Bitcoin and like Bitcoin. So it's interesting to see everybody kind of come back and flock around, and the traditional finance guys kind of saying, yeah, Bitcoin might not be a risk asset. And you see Bitcoin interacting with the stock market. This is Bitcoin in orange, NASDAQ in blue, and returns. And you see it was kind of correlated. We saw for a while here when the NASDAQ went down, Bitcoin went down. When Bitcoin or NASDAQ went up, they kind of continued working in parallel, doing the same thing until right around here with all this war talks and crisis is happening. Bitcoin ended up exploding. Well, the NASDAQ is kind of flat. I mean, 0.5% compared to 15%. That's crazy. That's a big decoupling in Bitcoin and showing that Bitcoin doesn't just follow the stock market. A lot of people look at it and see that there has been correlations, but for the majority of time, Bitcoin isn't really correlated to the stock market. It might start getting more correlated because of all the institutional investors coming in and companies and things getting involved now. But I still think it's going to be pretty uncorrelated to the stock market and that's going to continue to make it attractive for institutional investors, and people want to diversify portfolios if you're looking at just that sense. So it's just attracting more and more people. And you can see this is the safe haven kinds of talks. Bitcoin extends gains with crypto in demand as a haven, and that's Bloomberg. You see Bloomberg calling Bitcoin a safe haven. This is a complete switch on the narrative of Bitcoin, where it was a risk asset, speculation only, all of this. But then you see the weaponization of Swift. That's the big problem here. So with Swift being weaponized, that's the dollar system, countries being able to interact with other countries and selling goods and all that stuff done through the dollar. And right now, the sanctions on Russia are Swift being weaponized. They're basically kicked out of this international trade thing. And that is a problem for the dollar system. That just shows it can be weaponized against people. And if it's against Russia, it can be against anybody. So it could push forward this narrative of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin being the reserve currency and the use for, this global settlements and things. And it could push that towards the forefront right here and accelerate that process, just like COVID did with Bitcoin originally, kind of accelerated all this stuff. But if you can weaponize Swift, that's going to be a problem for a lot of people worried about this. And ultimately, it's going to be a problem for the dollar system, because if that goes bad and collapses, then the US is going to have the major problem on its hand. And talking about the sanctions against Russia and how the ruble is getting annihilated, right here we can see Bitcoin's valuation against the ruble is put in a new all-time high. This is against the ruble right here. This screenshot was 4.9 million ruble, which is crazy to even think of that. But 4.9 million ruble, it went to over 5 million ruble per Bitcoin. If that doesn't show you how much fiat can be devalued, and especially against other things out of your control. So if you're a normal citizen of Russia who doesn't support anything that's going on, you get hit with these, and people lost 30%, 50% of their savings in their bank accounts overnight, and they lost access to their money on their bank accounts because you can't even take it out. So they're just getting hit with all of these things, and Bitcoin's value just kind of shines through, showing that you can preserve your value in something no one can control, no one can kick you out of, no one can freeze it, no one can make more, no one can devalue it. It's just it's what Bitcoin does. So the true value of Bitcoin on full display right here. And you see because of these sanctions against Russia, Bitcoin decoupled from the stock market. That's from Barron's saying that. So we obviously see that with right here, the like Bitcoin against the NASDAQ, completely different moves. The NASDAQ kind of trending down, Bitcoin exploded up. So it has decoupled. It's not completely trading in tandem with the stock market, to be expected. If we look at the chart here, and we just kind of look at what the future for Bitcoin could be, if we keep up this rally and we keep up moving forward, the next target is obviously 45K. Getting above that, going to be big. And then $50,000. That's going to be enough. That's going to be psychological. So that could be a tough thing to get over. It's obviously a benchmark number, very psychological number, but getting over that. And then we see back into no man's land here with we could probably come up with a couple more lines in here, but there's nothing really concrete in this section. Maybe something like 60K. And then after 60K, we can go for the all-time high, 69,000, try and get over to 70, maybe try and push the $100,000 Bitcoin. Who knows? But that's the move up for the levels of resistance that we could see. 45Ks first, then 50, then probably 60, and then all-time highs. So not too much on the way up in terms of resistance. And if people continue flocking into Bitcoin, continue viewing it as a safe haven asset instead of risk on, and seeing the world basically showing Bitcoin's value on a global stage, literally all year, Bitcoin's value has been on display. It's kind of crazy. But we could see lots of people flowing into Bitcoin, lots of investors flowing in, and wanting to get a little bit even diversification and getting in there. So, as well as even the EU stopped their ban on proof of mining, which would be Bitcoin, because people were so outspoken and against it and everything that's going on. They threw that in the trash. They're not banning Bitcoin or proof of work mining. They're completely getting rid of that idea. So we can see things kind of shaping up for Bitcoin. A lot of good news for Bitcoin. And its value being shown all over the place right now. That's going to do it for this video. As always, I'm going to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I'll see you guys in my next video.